Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mid-Morning. The deadline for proposals has passed. Now, the future of the Mississippi School for Mathematics and Science and its future home, or does it stay where it is? All those questions still up in the air. Joining me now is Mississippi University for Women President, Nora Miller. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Well, sure.
And I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us about this. This was an RFP, a request for proposals, that the State Board of Education sent MUW and Mississippi State University. As of this moment when we're here at the table, MUW has made its proposal public, and it's 11 pages. That was a lot of work.
11 tiny print pages.
Yes. And I have it here. I've gone through and highlighted some things all the way through it. I think one thing that threw maybe you off about this is the short time frame given to the universities for such a large proposal.
Very short time frame. We got this on Friday, February 7th. I was traveling, so I didn't get it on my phone until that afternoon. So it really wasn't until that next Monday that we could really roll up our sleeves and figure out who needed to grab what parts of it, what facts we had to get together. And we had no rubric for the evaluation, so we don't know what was, I'm sure that the education of the high school students is the most important thing, but it would have been nice to have known how things were going to be weighted or evaluated.
I'm sure it would be, and in that request, they wanted answers to certain questions, and this involved every facet of the campus, because as I was going through and reading this, everything from safety to the number of police officers to recreation to academics to research, all of that.
All of that.
And I think maybe, I don't want to put words here in your mouth, but were some of these proposals that were added in here, such as honors courses that MSMS students could take at MUW, some of those ideas, were they already in the works?
They weren't formalized, but there was talk about doing those. We were expanding the number of courses that we offer, dual credit, dual enrollment, and then the idea about including MSMS students in our honors college. A lot of them attend our honors forums, which are open to the public anyway, but I think that's a really nice piece to have that.
So let's talk about some of the things within the proposal, and one of the key facets, one of the things that stuck out to me when in the RFP was questions about research.
Right.
And MUW does have some research opportunities, but in this proposal you talk about, or MUW talks about, expanding that. Can you kind of expand upon that?
We are mainly a teaching institution, but we do have research that takes place on our campus, and MSMS students have participated in some of that over the years. But I thought it would be important for us to really open up possibilities for MSMS students to interact with all of the research institutions in our state. So we will work with Jackson State, with Ole Miss, and with the University of Southern Mississippi to see what courses they have that students could participate in. With so much online learning, they really wouldn't need to get on a bus to go somewhere for that. And then also mentoring and other opportunities. And I think it's the more these students can be exposed to, the better.
Absolutely. And in talking through some of this, I also noticed that MSMS students have an opportunity even to go into the career development at MUW, which I think is huge, to be able to learn about that at such a young age and on a campus, a college campus.
Yes. And that's something that we have offered in the past, really recently. Opportunities for MSMS students to take the strong inventory, one of these that really decides what you're interested in, points out different career pathways that depending on your interests. Also, they can do shadowing and they can have mentors. So I think that's a great opportunity for these students.
I tell you what, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about facilities, athletic facilities, all of that. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. MUW President Nora Miller joining us at the table this morning. We're talking about the requests for proposals to house the Mississippi School for Mathematics and Science. It's been on the MUW campus since 1987.
That's right.
And now there is some questions about where it could go. In talking about the RFP that MUW submitted, is looking at the facilities. And something that really stuck out to me was right now, you all have calculated that you get reimbursed from the Department of Education, essentially, for maintenance facilities, maintenance fees, and things of that nature, right?
We get a certain amount, $113,000. And all of that is used to support MSMS facilities, and then some.
Exactly. I was going to say, so that equates out to about 69 cents per square foot that MSMS students, faculty use and administration use on
That
campus.
is for the space that they use solely. It does not include the space that we share with them, such as the recreation center, the cafeteria, the library, the health center.
So the national average you cited in here should be closer to $6.
$6.
That is amazing. And so what I think is missing sometimes is the fact that somebody has to foot that difference.
That's right.
And it ends up at your doorstep.
It does. It does. And when you look at the peer institutions in the contiguous states, the schools for math and science that are residential schools, MSMS is funded at about $6 million, and the others are at least $10 million to $13 million. And they're all about the same size with the number of students. So the difference really comes down to the facilities. In the very beginning, when MSMS was created, Lowndes County contributed over $1 million to help with establishing facilities. This past year, there was like $1.5 million, I believe, that was given from the state for their facilities. But other than that, it has not been funded. And the agreement that we have with the state board and with MDE states that the state board is responsible for the upkeep and renewal of facilities.
And you talked about regional schools, Louisiana, Alabama, and MSMS's funding is $16,000 less per student than the average funding for Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, and the students at those type of institutions.
Right, so that would be $3.5 to $4 million, which is really the difference between where they're funded and where these other ones are. And so there is a real cost to maintaining these facilities and providing enhancements. And it's been 37 years. It's time for them to get some new facilities, and we would like to see that happen on our campus.
And you have a master plan that has a space for 2 facilities.
Right. We've been working on an update to our campus facilities master plan for the last 2 years. And MSMS has been a part of those discussions and has had input into what they see as their needs. They want to grow, and so they want to grow beyond the residential space that they have right now, and they want some enhancements to some of their facilities, their robotics labs, some of their engineering type labs. So that's all included in our campus master plan that we're still kind of working on. But we have identified 2 spaces on campus where new construction could occur.
All right. Okay. All right. We've got one more segment coming up with President Miller here.
Okay.
We'll have more after the break. Stay with us. All right. Welcome back. Continuing our conversation this morning with MUW President Nora Miller. And again, as I read through this RFP, I noticed that in there it said MUW will provide a single campus liaison. And I wanted to ask you, did this, I know you've had conversations with MSMS administration, but did this whole thing sort of just catch you flat-footed, so to speak?
The timing of it did.
Yeah.
But no, we knew, last year in the legislative session, there was a bill that would have moved MSMS to Mississippi State. And so it didn't really come out of the blue, but the timing was unusual.
I want to ask you, yes, about last session, because there was another piece of legislation there that would have basically consolidated MUW with MSU. And I've heard some people say, so goes MS, so goes MUW. Do you believe that?
I don't. It is an integral part of our campus, and we appreciate having them there. We want to have them there, but there would be opportunities for us to repurpose those buildings and facilities in a way that would allow us to grow and to offer more for our students.
And let me, as we kind of go through this, I kind of took a little something from this RFP. And don't get me wrong, I don't read many RFPs. So, but I kind of took from it that stance. Mm-hmm. Look, we are happy to have MSMS on our campus. We would like to keep them. We're willing to do a few things to keep them. But please understand the investment we've made in that school as well. And so if you're ready to move on, we'll figure it out.
That's right.
That's kind of the tone I took. I just wanted to, I didn't know if I was misreading something.
No, we have programs that are ready for growth. We took one residence hall offline this year to do some major renovations and upgrades for it. So we weren't able to offer as many private rooms as students requested. So we do have a need for space.
And let me ask you, the past year through the legislative session and what you've learned from that incident to going all the way through, what has it taught you as far as being president of the university? And what have you do you almost feel attacked or?
Well,
I know it's been tough.
It has been tough, and it's been amazing how fast things can happen, and apparently some people can keep some pretty good secrets.
Yeah, they can. It's amazing that they can do that in the state capitol. Usually they want to talk. So moving forward, what are you hopeful for in, let's say, the next fiscal year, that maybe you can kind of put this behind you? I mean, because you've had everything from a name change attempt to a consolidation attempt. And, the past 2-3 years, they haven't been easy.
No, they haven't been, but it's all worthwhile. And I feel strongly about our future. Bond bill just dropped that includes the $15 million that we requested. So the state has invested a good bit of money in our campus, and they're continuing to do so, and I'm pleased with that. I think if we can, we've really worked on solidifying our relationships with not only our local delegation, but also with some of the leaders in the legislature. And we've been talking more about what we do that is so great. Sometimes we are a little bit not as braggadocious as some others, but we're learning to toot our own horns a little bit more and let people know what we can do. And W alums have proven to be mighty.
Yes, I think they've thwarted a few coups down at the state capitol before, well before my time, and
Yes.
I think yours too. But all right, well, thank you so much, Nora.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you joining us this morning. Good insight, good information about this RFP process and kind of what's been going on.
All right, great.
We'll be right back.
Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone. We should add Mississippi State has also released its RFP to house MSMS. Now, in other news, the acting head of the Internal Revenue Service plans to retire Friday. Doug O'Donnell's sudden departure comes just as the agency gets ready for tax filing season. He released a statement where he noted his 38-year career with the agency. O'Donnell was elevated to the head role after IRS Commissioner Daniel Werfel stepped down as President Trump took office last month. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced Tuesday the agency's chief operating officer, Melanie Krause, will temporarily lead the agency. President Trump has said previously he wants former Congressman Billy Long of Missouri to head the IRS. The Trump administration is cutting thousands of jobs at the IRS. That has many Americans worried about the status of their tax returns. Jill Schlesinger has some details, including some new changes to the tax code.
For most taxpayers, the deadline to file their personal federal tax return, pay any tax owed, or request an extension is Tuesday, April 15th. Despite staff cuts at the IRS, the agency says that if you file electronically and use direct deposit, you should have fewer errors and avoid the headache of a delay. The average refund is usually received within 21 days if there are no issues with the return. There's one big change this year, and some people receiving a 1099-K tax form in the mail may wonder why. It's for freelancers and others who earn money by selling goods and services online and are paid through platforms like PayPal, eBay, or Venmo. The threshold for taxable transactions was $20,000 in 2023. Now it's just $5,000 for money earned last year. It will ultimately drop to $600 in 2026. That could force many more people to file a 1099-K, even someone who resold a concert or sports ticket at a marked up rate. In New York, I'm CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
The maker of blockbuster weight loss and diabetes drugs Zepbound and Mounjaro has announced it will build 4 new manufacturing plants in the United States. It's a $27 billion investment for Indianapolis-based Eli Lilly. The drug-making giant says 3 of the sites will make active pharmaceutical ingredients, the foundational materials of the medicines. The 4th site will make injectable products. Eli Lilly's chief executive officer, David Ricks, says the company wanted to create more manufacturing capacity and add redundancy to strengthen its supply chain. But he also attributed possible political policies as a major contributor to the plans. Ricks emphasized the plan to build the new plants in the U.S. relies on renewal of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which lowered the corporate tax rate in the U.S. President Trump has threatened new tariffs on pharmaceuticals starting as early as April. It has not been determined where the new plants will be. If your spring break or summer vacation plans include a trip to a national park, things are going to be different this year. Part of the White House plan to shrink the federal workforce includes a 10% job cut in the U.S. Forest Service, which manages the national parks. That leaves the remaining members already short staffs will be stretched even thinner. Ian Lee spoke to workers in Lander, Wyoming.
This summer, the family trip to a national forest might look a little different.
I think there's a lot of unforeseen consequences that the general public aren't always aware of.
What do you fear then? What could happen?
Myself and whoever else is out are picking up trash every day. We're clearing the trails for people to access the wilderness. And that's not going to happen this year.
It was everything that I had worked for a long time.
Dalen Grindle, along with Jack Corney and Tim Leedy, recently received a letter each that said they were being fired for poor job performance.
What was your reaction when you saw that the reason you're being fired was because of poor performance?
I mean, it's not the real reason.
You know, I put my heart and soul into that job, and that's just not true.
It's pretty devastating to lose this job.
Let's say you just arrived in town and you want some information about the forest, maybe a good place to camp or trail to hike on, or maybe you're scared about bears. You come to a place like this, your local ranger station. But because of the recent firings, this one won't be open anytime soon. The cuts come as wildfires become more frequent and more severe.
Show of hands, how many of you were qualified to fight fires? So you guys could all have been on the front lines this summer fighting fires if needed.
Yes.
Did you guys see yourselves making a career out of the Forest Service?
Yeah, I was going to be in this job for like 30 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just had I have an 8-month-old baby right now, so there's like the potential stability there, and yeah, just the longevity. It was definitely going to be probably my last career.
That new father was the sole earner in the family. Their health insurance is now gone, and the ripple effect is going to be felt across entire communities. The Forest Service is often the top employer in rural areas, which also helps facilitate tourism. And in Wyoming alone, tourists spend billions of dollars every year. Ian Lee, CBS News, Lander, Wyoming.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us this morning. We'll see you next time here on WCBI Mid-Morning. Have a great day, everybody.